This is your host, Laura Winters, the heart-led pathfinder, intuitive energy healer, speech language pathologist, and owner of Your Light Holistic Therapy and Wellness, LLC. Welcome to Miracle in Time, a mini-series podcast that brings you the stories of beautiful humans exploring the synchronicities, blessings, and miracles within our perception of time. It illustrates that events are not just happening to us, but for us. Life isn't always rainbows and butterflies, but it is a miracle in time. As a disclaimer, this podcast contains general information about various topics and medical conditions and is for educational purposes and inspiration only. Your Light Holistic Therapy and Wellness LLC is not responsible or liable for the accuracy of information contained in this podcast. The information contained in this episode is the personal views of the host and guests respectively. This podcast is not meant to replace the advice of your healthcare provider and is not intended to prescribe, prevent, treat, or diagnose disease. You assume all risks when you continue this episode. On this episode, we talk to Lynn Smallwood about orofacial myofunctional disorders and therapy and about her own journey pursuing a tongue tie release. Lynn Smallwood is the owner and lead speech language pathologist at Speak Life Speech Therapy in Wapakoneta, Ohio. She specializes and has extensive training in childhood apraxia of speech, orofacial myofunctional disorders, and dyslexia and literacy. Speech language pathology is a second career for her and has been such a blessing from God and the best decision. She never would have thought about 15 years ago that she would be here today, owning her own growing private practice, mentoring student clinicians and other SLPs she works with. Her dream has come true. She knows this is her calling and passion. Working with and supporting her clients and families is the best part of her job. It's not a job to her. It is her way of sharing the love of Jesus with others using the gifts He has given her. I hope you enjoyed this miracle in time. Hi, Lynn. Thanks so much for talking to me today.
Of course.
So I'm really excited to talk to you because in the next couple days, we're going to have a tongue tie release. And so what I wanted to do was talk about kind of like the journey that you've had getting here, because this is kind of like, for me, is a really big pivotal moment in this whole journey that I've been on. And I can imagine it's probably something similar for you as well.
Yes. Not necessarily something I ever thought I would need or be doing at this age.
Exactly, right? Like normally when we think about tongue ties and releases, this is like infants who have difficulty feeding, breastfeeding, bottle feeding, things like that. So yeah, as an adult, it's kind of like, well, wait a second, I've done fine this long. So what's the point now?
Right.
So can you tell me a little bit how you got into the field of speech language pathology in the first place?
So this is a second career for me. Initially, right out of high school, I went to college and got a degree in accounting. And then I got a MBA. And so I worked in corporate America, I guess, at a big auto company between that and public accounting for about 12 years. And then life circumstances happened and I quit that job to stay home with the kids and realized that being a stay-at-home mom was not what I could do. So I started subbing in the schools and thought teaching was a lot of fun, but didn't know if I could be with the same kids every day for 180 days. I knew nothing about speech pathology. my daughter and I went to a cheer competition. She was on a cheer team with another mom and her daughter for a weekend. And that mom was a speech path. And she started talking to me about it. And she's like, maybe this is what you should do if you like kids, but you don't think you want to be a teacher. And so she told me all these different things, and then told me about this Omni program, which Ohio had because there was a shortage of speech pathologists in the schools. So I went home after that weekend and told my husband that I was going to be a speech therapist. And he said, I don't know what that is either. And he said, but okay. And so that started a very long and stressful and tiring journey of trying to go from a business background to a more medical type background, I guess.
That's truly an amazing story. I mean, like, now that you have your own practice and business and everything, like it's having that background is so valuable to the flow of everything, but it's kind of wild how, yes, going from very business, and you probably were working with some people, but like very much computer work, that kind of stuff. And then when you get working with the families and the medical piece and everything, it's such a different world. I can just totally imagine.
Yes, totally different, but it's been great.
And yeah, and so cool how it was just like someone just mentioned it, right? And you're just like, wow, that's probably it. And yeah, that's really, I was telling someone else as well that how I got into it was my mom was a principal. I wanted to be a teacher, and she was like, no, you don't want to be a teacher. How about you be a speech therapist? And I was like, okay, it's just one of those things where you just kind of get thrown into and you're like, huh, yeah, it does stick,
Mm-hmm.
That's super cool. So when you got done with this I'm sure crazy roller coaster of grad school with kids and everything, I can't even imagine.
Yes.
Where did you go from there?
So I worked in the schools for 10 years, which was great because I graduated in 2013. So my kids were 12 and 13 at the time. And so it was great to be on their schedule. They were starting to get into more activities after school. And so it worked out great. So I did that. And then while I was doing that, I had a few people reach out to me about if I would see their kid, on the side or, this and that. And so I kind of started that. I think I actually formed my LLC in 2015. And so started one or two and then did some teletherapy, just to make more money because unfortunately I was not making the same amount of money in the schools as I was when I was working full time, obviously in the corporate world. So just trying to make some of that up. And then COVID hit. And we decided that maybe I could do this more full-time privately. And so in 2022, in April, I opened my first brick and mortar, but still was only doing it part-time after school and on the weekends. And then that next school year, I went part-time. And so this is my second full school year being out and being full-time private practice.
Wow, that's really cool. And the thing that's amazing is that it seems like you have this very large presence. It's not just the tiny community that you're in, but you bring people from all over the place.
Yeah, so since I specialize somewhat myofunctional, but also in apraxia, there's not a whole lot, especially in our area, of therapists that have that. And so I did the boot camp and did that kind of thing. So have kind of become more niche in that. And then we do run a camp every summer. This will be our 5th year for camp. And we focus on apraxia and severe speech sound disorders. And we have had people come from all over the United States and Canada to come to our camp. So that's just crazy.
That's really, really cool. Okay, so now let's talk about like orofacial myofunctional disorders. How in the world did you like even hear about this? How were you led to this, I guess, this area of practice?
I was trying to think about that, and I truthfully can't remember exactly what happened. But I took my first like major, 40-hour course in the spring of 2022. And I think, and I truthfully can't remember, that I remember having a lot of kids with like that tongue thrust in the schools. And we just weren't doing anything, getting anywhere. And then I had one private who came to me and had been like thumb sucking and stuff, and he was, I don't know, 5 or 6. And I think just researching and trying to figure out how to help these kiddos, and I think that's how it started. And then found my first like major course. I had done some like speech pathology or speech therapy PD things before that.
Yeah.
But that was, I think, the first time that I really started digging into it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's, when you learn about it, when you get into the coursework, you're just like, oh my gosh, like why was I never taught this? Like why was this not the it's literally like the basement information before the true foundation before everything else is built. And when you're in I don't know about your grad school experience, but mine was very much like, no, 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 no. And so you have this house that's built without a foundation, and you've been like living in it and just kind of surviving. But then, it's kind of like this, when you learn about the myofunctional therapy, it like is a tornado that comes through, takes the whole house down, and you have to rebuild. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Yes, I would agree. And just seeing how it affects everything.
Everything.
Yes.
Literally everything. It's so wild.
Yes, I would agree.
So you started with your first like major course, 40-hour course, because that's the thing is like when you go into this, yes, I'm sure you can research, read, kind of listen to other people, but it really is important that you have that foundational work of the muscles and the workings of them, and all of this stuff is so important. And so you did that first course, and then how did things go after that?
So that course was online, of course. In 2022, they still weren't, doing a whole lot in person. And so my husband was my guinea pig and my person that, I was doing everything on as we were going through the assessment and the therapy stuff. And I realized that he is a poster child for an OMD, although he doesn't want to do anything about it. So he's still that poster child even today. But then I started trying just to implement little things in everyday therapy, right? Just trying to make sure that I was trying to look at the whole picture and not just, a speech sound or this and that. And then I got a couple clients who I told them, I said, hey, if you let me do this assessment and therapy, I'll do it for free because I'm just learning. I said, but I think that you might be able to, benefit from it. And a lot of these were my friends or the teachers at school, their kids, who we found out had, some tongue ties and those kind of things. And so I kind of started that way, just kind of, dabbling in it and seeing if there was any kind of real results as I was going. And then ended up taking 3 more full comprehensive courses. And still some things feel like I know nothing.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like they say from what I've seen, because I mean, they say it truly is like a rabbit hole. Like it
Yes.
just keeps going and going and going. And I mean, so you have all this information and you start making a difference, but every person, every child, like literally everybody is so different.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's the cool thing about us as humans. Like each individual person is truly individual. And I like this therapy because it is so like some of the therapies that we do are just very much like you're just doing the same things over and over. You're cueing the same ways. It doesn't work for everybody. And this gives you like there's a plethora of things that is targeting certain areas. And though it is, I mean, some things are repetitive, but it's so tailored to the person who's sitting in front of you.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So what brought you to the Make the Connection course with Mary Billings? Because I know that you had like a little bit of a hand in bringing this to Ohio. So how did you get there?
So before her course, I had taken, I said 3 other ones. They were all online. Nothing was ever in person. And I came across this course and was able to connect with Patty Fisher, who ends up, not living too far from me. So I kind of connected with her and said, hey, is there any possibility that we could get, Mary and Diana to come to Ohio? And at that point, didn't know them, right? And so she starts this email thread with all of us. And I just feel like starstruck, right? Like in all of like, I'm in somebody who's like a celebrity, right? And I am just this little person that just wants to get trained and more. And so we just kept talking and they were like, well, Ohio is usually not a good place because the Ohio people don't like to spend money and da, 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 da. And so we probably started planning, I would say almost a year in advance of when the actual course was, to try to find a venue and to put out there if, there would be interest and all that kind of stuff. And then I think just telling them my story. And Patty was like, we need to get this here because she's like, there's not that many of us and I'm retiring and we need to get people trained. And so I think it was a very, very much a collaborative effort with Patty and I initially. And then we brought Ashley Hackett in and she, did a little bit too to try to get that here.
That's really great. I mean, and for me coming across that is really it was really a miracle. Like I was doing research myself for my own kids, and I took the speech therapy PD course. I started it with Mary, and this journey has been so emotional, like having my kids go through it, that like I was like an hour in and just sobbing, just texting my friend, like, I can't do this. Like I'm thinking like, oh, I'll take another course, save some money, just do it online. It'll be fine, because some of them are significantly less than an in-person course. And I realized like an hour in, there's like no way I can do this online. There's just no way. And so it wasn't like, it was a week later, maybe just a couple days later, I like get up in the morning, you're not supposed to, but pull up Facebook. And the first thing that came up was Mary Billings' course in Cincinnati in October. And it was like the 1st of September. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is my sign. Like I totally have to do this. And I text Diana and was like, is there still availability? Like I was like, I have to move some funds around, make sure that this can work, but like any chance? And she's like, oh no, I think you're going to be fine. So I was just so excited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then obviously it ended up being amazing. We had such a great cohort of people. I mean, different professionals, and it was a great learning experience for me. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yes, and even I think the personal growth that I had, like, and the connections, because, you talked about your husband being the poster child. Well, as we're like looking at each other's mouths and all this stuff, like, like, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is totally me too, like uh, the jaw tension, just I'm starting to have a little bit of swallowing problems, like there's so many things. Like my teeth look great, but like they're not, like there's not enough space for my tongue. And when I was little, like I would have to flip my pillow over 2 or 3 times a night because I'd wake up and just full on drool, I had no idea that your tongue was supposed to be up on the roof of your mouth. Like I never did that. And thinking about the swallowing complex itself, like I'd never swallowed like that. It was just like, what is happening?
Yes.
So yeah. So, having a couple courses in, I'm sure it wasn't just for you. It wasn't like, completely mind blowing. You're like putting all the pieces together and you're like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So that is really wonderful.
Yeah. I think if I would have went in and not had any background, I would have been so overwhelmed. I was still overwhelmed, but it really connected a lot of the things and went into more detail about why we do things, and what affects what, more so than my other courses. But I am still thankful I took the other ones because, I think I would have been, I don't know, I would have went home like some of them that I talked to and been like, I just don't know where to start.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of information. And I think, with the group that we had, and what I'm hoping for in the Toledo area as well, is that we have a group that is close, whether in proximity or just being able to communicate well, and that you don't have to leave going, now I'm all on my own, because you don't have to be. You don't have to be all on your own. We're all learning this together. This is really a new, it's kind of a newer modality, and like there's not very many people doing it. And that for me was important to bring to the Toledo area because there's like 1 or 2 people doing it, and there's no airway centered orthodontist. And, there's just nothing here. You have to drive wherever you're going to get this stuff. And, so for me, it's kind of like, let's try to at least plant some seeds, bring some awareness. And that's why I'm doing these podcasts as well, because it's so expensive and because Ohioans are like, we're just going to hold on to our money. They need to know that there's also some personal impact as well. Mm-hmm. And the journey that you're on and I'm on, leading us to get our own tongue tie releases, is just like, we learned the information from, like you said, like one of the best. And I know with me and my family personally, like when there's a problem, I want to go to whoever I think is the best person. And so getting that information from what we feel as being the best, and then being able to take those steps and follow through for our own health and well-being is just like amazing.
Yes, I would agree.
I am so excited to be able to offer a low-cost healing option for moms out there that are overcome by guilt from medical decisions. I am healing the guilt from making medical decisions early on in my children's life that I honestly didn't know any better. As a result, they have chronic illness, and I am often reminded that they have their own journeys too. Love is how we heal our guilt, and we don't have to do it alone. Join us in Healing Medical Mom Guilt. You can register on the website at yourlightllc.com/scheduling. So what brought you to the place of thinking about pursuing your own tongue tie release?
So again, once they started talking about the tension, and then, the fascia that goes from the tip of your tongue to the tip of your toes. Just thinking back, I've had multiple surgeries, just in general. Some from probably not related to this, but I had surgery on both of my feet at the same time for plantar fasciitis, nerve impingement, and a bone spur, I think. And so when I started thinking about it and putting all this together, I'm like, okay, so that could be part of it. I also have been treated for like neuropathy, and I always have tension, in this area, like all the time. I go to massage therapist, I go to the chiropractor, I do red light therapy, I do all these things that are supposed to help it, and it might help temporarily, but it's always there. So when we were talking about this, and I'm like, okay, so I've been doing this, I can do all the exercises, right? Like, I don't have any trouble with my tongue range of motion. I'm a nose breather. My mouth is closed. I don't normally snore unless, I'm sick. So like those kind of things, were never a red flag for me. But just really going into that tension, and also I don't know if you're in this, but the Ohio Airway Circle,
Collaboration. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So we had a meeting too, and Dr. Notstein presented there. This has been a couple years ago. And he was going into all that too. And so it started making me think about it even before this class. And then I was talking to my kids. My kids are now 24 and 25. And I was just actually looking at my son's mouth last night, and I'm like, yeah, you should probably go too. And he's like, well, it's fine, I don't have any trouble. I'm like, I understand, but I think they both have the exact same thing that I do. It's not that it's not functional, right? But I just remember with both of them, I couldn't nurse, and nobody could tell me why. And then my grandson, who's 3, he couldn't nurse. And so he went to Notstein at like 5 weeks and got released. And just what a difference that made. So there was a lot of things I think that kind of came together that I was like, well, and then obviously when we were in that course and you're being assessed by your peers, right? And they're like, oh, you have this and you have this and you have this. And I'm like, who knew? It's very humbling, right? And eye-opening.
For sure. It really is. And, you make a really great point. And in that, I saw as well is that when we were evaluating, looking at everybody, a lot of the people who said their kids were having problems, needed expansion, or were tongue-tied, we'd look in their mouth and you're like, oh, you're the same. And it was like, oh, man. And you think, and like you just said, excuse me, it was you, and then your kids, and then your grandkids. And it's so pervasive in generations, and reasons why, I don't know, but it's very interesting that there is this connection. So if for someone like considering the course, like maybe you don't know yourself, but you notice that your kids had problems or your grandkids had problems, or maybe your mother did. My mom was having a ton of jaw tension, and she grinds her teeth, and, she has the tori, I have tori, there's so many things where you're like, oh, we're exactly the same. Mm-hmm. And so, being able to recognize that, have the tools, and then be able to do something about it. It really it's for your own personal health, but it does make an effect on the generations as well.
Yeah. And I think, I tell my families and the kids, I just had one little boy who had it done. It's been 2 weeks now. But I'm always like, oh, it'll be fine. It's not bad. Do I really know that? So I think this is going to be great too, that I can say, hey, and I've been telling all my kids, I'm like, listen, I get to have my tongue tie, released, and I'm going to have this surgery just like you did, or just like you might be, and so I think that's hopefully, makes me a better therapist and a better advocate, and just so that I can have, that compassion, the empathy to know what it's going to be like.
For sure. And that's one of the things as my kids are going through expansion, and then the myofunctional therapy, and then we're going to release kind of at the end. I'm thinking about my own kids going like, oh my gosh, how do I tell them that it's going to be okay, and that you're going to have pain and all this stuff. And, there was a recommendation for my daughter to be released when she was like a little over a year. And for me, that was like so traumatic to even think about, like, how in the world, like, she's very cognizant at that age. Like, I couldn't do it. And so me telling my kids, this is what I'm going to be doing and I'm going to show you, and then you guys are going to have to do it too, I think is really empowering as a parent.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to, be able to talk to your kids and know what they're going through. And like you said, and your clients as well.
Yeah. I think that's very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm really nervous about it. I can't say I'm looking forward to it, but I'm excited. I mean, I am, but ugh.
I know
that about it.
The thing is that, like, afterward, I think that, like, the only angry and ugly comes to mind when I think of, like, the wound that's there, you know? And for me, I was, so we did the course, and then was it just a month later? Or a month and a half, or I don't know how long it was when we came back down to Dayton.
Yeah, I would say it might have been like in November.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I thought it was November. So we came down and we did like it was like an hour, 2 hour little talk with Patty and Dr. Notestein. And then that's where he kind of assessed all of us. So when he assessed me, and I was just kind of like, I gotta go quick so I can get home. It's a really long drive. But he was like, man, yours is just really a lot of fascia. I don't think that you might not even have that much of a wound at all. And that's when I went, oh, I think I'm going to do this, And who knows, it might be really ugly. It might be a big wound, like whatever, do whatever you need to. But, yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be great.
Keep telling yourself that. Right. Now, what has been some of the preparation that you've done leading up to this?
So I've been doing the exercises, which obviously I do almost every day anyway. I think I have myo clients almost every day, maybe every day except for Thursday. I have somebody that we're doing it with. So I've been doing them more consistently, obviously, to hopefully try to get ready and to, try to reduce the risk of, I don't know, it growing back or scar tissue, whatever. And the thing is that with having, still all the range of motion, like I don't really feel like I'm stretching anything like we kind of do with the kids who are really tied. We want to try to get as much stretch as possible so that their tongue knows what to do when they do have all that range of motion and additional movement. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but then again, it just makes you wonder what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely a wild card. You just never know.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you personally, because from what I understand, I might be assuming this wrong, but you're more holistic. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I was thinking about aftercare, which we haven't talked too much about, but I was going to bring some arnica with me.
Okay.
I was just curious what other things, like, I might have to bust out the ibuprofen or whatever if I need to. I'm hoping not, but are there some other kind of like holistic things, or you're thinking about pain or healing or anything like that?
Truthfully, I haven't thought too much about it. I have recently started, have you ever heard of LifeWave?
Are they the patches?
Yes.
Yes.
So I've recently started that. So I'm hoping that maybe that will help the healing process go quicker. I didn't start it because of this, but I'm just hoping that might be, part of one of the results of it. But otherwise, I truthfully have not thought about after, because I'm just trying to get to the day first. Unfortunately.
I know you were like, I would just love to go first.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other things I have to look this up because I don't really know, but I really like that point about the patches. I have a friend who uses their, I forget what the brand name is, but they're bioenergy patches and frequency patches. So yes, I need to get the pain patch. I don't know how LifeWave is, if it's just like kind of a general, but the ones that we have are all different for all different ailments and frequencies.
Yeah. So there's two different ones, or there's multiple different ones, but there's one that is just for overall like healing from the inside out. So that it's just a daily thing. And then there are some that are for specific, like pain, or I don't know, there's different ones. And I don't even know how many for sure there are. But I know there are multiple for, like you said, the different ailments and stuff. So I have Ice Wave, which is for the pain, which I'm trying to do like here. So I'm scheduled on April 16th to get injections into my neck because I have C3 through C6 are compressed and on the nerve. So my whole arm goes numb and all different things, whatever. So that's initially why I tried to try these patches, because I'm hoping that by the 16th, maybe I don't have to do that. And then I'm also scheduled in June to have surgery on my rotator cuff. On my right shoulder. So I'm hoping maybe I don't have to do that either. So we'll see, but I'm very hopeful. So anyway, I have the Ice Wave, which is more of like, it turns off the pain receptors. So it's not really healing anything, but it just helps with the pain. So I thought, well, maybe there's some place where I can put those that might help too. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I agree. Okay, that's cool. I'm glad that we talked about that because yeah, I need to remember that. And then so in terms of the body healing, like outside, I use like hypochlorous acid, which is like it's actually made in your body, but it's a really natural like not what's the word I want to say? Like harsh thing. So when I was having eye problems, I could use hypochlorous acid and just spray it on your eye. But I don't know that you can put it in your mouth. So I was thinking things like I got to look up like colloidal silver washes or even ozone. I don't know if ozone is for healing or not. I think they use like an ozone. I have an ozone machine from Therasage, and so you can put the ozone in your water and swish, and so, but I don't know if that's indicated as well. So I've thought of some things, but I'm like, today is Thursday. We have
Right?
maybe before bed tonight, I like look this up. I don't know, and we'll talk about it after the fact, what we decided to do or not. And then yes, I'm gonna have my arnica with me, but yeah, I'm gonna really try to avoid any pain meds if I can.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the red light too will help the healing.
That is really a great point. Yes, I have a red light as well. So, duh.
I'm hoping that will help too.
Yeah, good thinking. Okay, we got this.
Yeah.
We totally got this.
I talk a big story right now. We'll see.
I know. We'll be like, no,
It's
look at
terrible.
this. Look at so the next question. So do you feel like God had like a hand or was guiding you on this journey?
So I feel like God guides us in everything. Like I feel like he's the one who put me into this profession. Because when I came home after that weekend and I told my husband this is what I was doing, and I started looking into it, and at the time you still had to take the GRE, and I had no background. I mean, all my background was business related, right? So I had no classes that transferred per se and all this stuff. So my application into the program to me was very light because I didn't have any. My GRE was not good. The math part was good. The other part was not good. because, I was a math person at that point. So I did not hit their score that they needed. We had to write like a personal story as to why we wanted to get in. My guess is that has to be what made the cut, that and by the grace of God, because there was, I don't know, they said like 70 some applications and they took 24 for this cohort of this program. And yeah, seriously, if you look at paper, I should not be where I am now. And then just getting us through. So when I quit my job, we still had, my husband and I had just gotten married. We still had 2 house payments, and a lot of financial issues, right? Because we went from 2 very good incomes and we cut our income in half by 50% when I quit, to be home with the kids. And that was, definitely our decision. But I think, God played a big part in that too. And then just getting me through grad school, because again, these kind of things, these topics were definitely not, they did not come naturally to me, so I had to spend a lot of time. And then, I had kids that were in middle school at the time and just trying to navigate that. And then just with the business and growing the business, we just give all the glory to him, because we would not be here. I would not be here. My family would not be here if it wasn't.
No, for sure. That's so beautiful. And just think like, even when you had, even just thinking about the course and your healing journey right now, is that you had no idea that coming into that was your 4th, right?
Right.
Your 4th course, and then finally making this connection to yourself.
Yes.
And I totally hope so much that this makes such a difference for here as well for you. That would be so amazing to think of all of the steps all the pieces that had to come together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a great testimony already, but it would just be a great addition to it.
For sure. And yeah, and so then we'll do the follow-up afterward, which I'm really excited for. That everybody's is a little 2-part. It's going to be so much fun. Do you think that there were any like big miracles that happened along the way that you feel like really stand out? I know you talked a little bit about God being in every step and, all of those hardships that you were able to get through, but do you think that there are any like connections with people or places or anything that you were just like, that's a total miracle?
I think definitely getting accepted into the program was a miracle for sure. And then I think just connecting with this group of people in this myo space, I would say, I think has been a miracle too, just to make the connections, which then, just is a windfall of so many things. But like you said before, just having that community and those people to go to, I think the relationships that I made, especially at the in-person course, obviously we're, I don't know, 8 months past that, 6 months past that, maybe 5, I don't know how many months, 6 months past that. And, we're still in contact with each other. If we have questions, I feel like I can reach out to people, which, you said you kind of feel like you're on an island. Private practice, I think sometimes I feel like I'm on an island. Whereas the schools, you had some more, at least you had teachers. You may not have had another therapist there, but at least you had people. So sometimes I feel like, just having that community of professionals is a miracle in itself.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Is there anything else that you can think of that you want to add in or contribute that might be helpful for someone else?
I'm just going to tell them that if they have any inkling at all or any questions, any hindrance, just go for it. Because if I wouldn't have, gone for it at the beginning, I wouldn't be here, and I definitely wouldn't be having my tongue tie done. like it all starts with just saying yes.
Yeah, that is really, really great. And that leads me to the last question, which may be kind of similar, but what's your advice for helping others see the miracles in their life?
I think you have to step back and get into a place of quiet, so that you can realize that miracles are happening daily. It doesn't have to be something, I might cry. Oh my gosh, this is terrible.
No, that's beautiful.
It doesn't have to be something big, right? It doesn't have to be miracles that you saw in the Bible of somebody that couldn't walk that now can walk, right? Or curing cancer. Like, there are miracles happening around us every day. And I think we need to just embrace those.
I totally agree. They're everywhere, and you just have to revel in the beauty and and have so much gratitude for everything that's happening, because they're happening all around you, and you just have to see them.
Yes.
Well, Lynn, if anybody wanted to contact you, is there a website or an email that they might be able to do that?
Yeah. So my website is Speak Life Speech Therapy. And email is lynn@speaklifespeechtherapy.com.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Lynn. I've had a wonderful time chatting with you, and I cannot wait to see you on Saturday.
Me too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Miracle in Time. If you would like to explore a theme or know someone perfect for this podcast, please fill out a form on yourlightllc.com/podcast. If you would like to learn more about my services, you can visit the website at yourlightllc.com. I want you to remember that with all life's ups and downs, you are divinely held and guided throughout your journey. Don't miss out on this miracle in time.